All right, step 6. We have our 2 pant legs. And step 6 is to, with right sides together, insert one pant leg inside the other. So we need to have right sides together. So one of them, we're going to have to turn right side out so we can insert it inside. The other one will stay inside out. And you're just going to take the pant leg, and it might be tricky because flannel's kind of fuzzy, likes to stick together. We're going to line it up. Okay, one pant leg is inside the other. I know it sounds weird, but this is how you sew the crotch. Okay, step 7. With right sides together, pin center seam, matching inner leg seams and notches, and stitch. Okay, here's your center seam. We're going to match up the bottom seams here exactly so that they are on the exact side. And I don't have my pins. I'm not prepared apparently. Okay. We will pin these together and we're going to match our notches. So here is our double notch right here. We're going to make sure that this lines up right where it's supposed to be. There's one notch on this side. And we'll line up the top. We'll pin it all the way around this curved inside edge. Okay. And because it's a curve, you might have to just wiggle it around a little bit. Just make sure you get it matched up. And then we'll do this side, and this is our triple notch. This is how we know that our pant legs are in the correct position. If we accidentally didn't turn one right side out and we stuck it inside, we would be able to tell that we didn't put it in correctly, because a double notch would be by the triple notch and a triple notch would be by the double notch. And then you'd be like, oh, I didn't do this right. What did I do wrong? So that is why they have notches of different sizes, so that you can line them up perfectly. They're also in different locations. The double notch was higher up to the top and the triple notch is lower down. So that also would have been a really good indicator that you didn't put it in correctly. Okay. 2 more pins here. All right, now it says to, after you have it pinned, it says to stitch it. Okay. And then it says to reinforce seam, stitch again over first stitching. So we're going to stitch this twice. So we'll go over to our sewing machine, turn it on. And again, we're using 5/8 as always. And it's a little harder to sew curves, but you just kind of move it around. So we're going to line this up with our 5/8, stick our needle down, go forward and backward in the beginning. And you'll want to go a little bit slower on the curved areas versus the straight areas. So I'm going to pull it a little bit and turn it a little because I'm coming up on a curve here. But I want to make sure that I still am looking at the 5/8 line. And I'm guiding it so the fabric is still lined up with the 5/8. And you're just going to slowly turn it as you're sewing. And you'll have some pretty thick part here during, because you have, you know, quadruple fabric here now because of the seams, which is fine. Just go slow over that section. Slow around the curves. My pins came out. We'll just take it out. But now I need to make sure that I hold that down nice and taut. Okay, we're curving here some more. And then it's going to get straight here in just a minute. There we go. Okay, we'll get this straight. It's puckering a little bit for me in spots. Just flatten it out. Ooh, it's a big pucker. We're going to take these pins out because, as you can see, the top fabric is moving more than my bottom, and so I'm going to flatten out the top so I don't have a weird crease in my seam line. Okay, reinforce your end. Okay, now we're going to reinforce our seam after we take our pins out and just sew it one more time. And in order to do that, instead of looking at the 5/8 line, my presser foot, if you can see, has a notch right in the middle of it, and that is where my needle is at center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch my sewn line, my stitches that are already there, and I am going to try and put them right in that little notch, in that little center. And that's what I'm going to look at instead. I'm not looking at my needle, I'm just looking at how this line loads into this center part of my pressure foot. So I'm just guiding it to try and keep it centered. It's okay if it's not exact where you are. That's totally fine. You're just reinforcing this seam. If you go a little bit to one side or the other, it's not going to make a big deal. It won't make the crotch line look weird or anything, because you're going to try and get it as much as you can on there. And this for reinforcing, because it's the crotch seam, it's probably the most pulled seam when you're wearing pants. You know, you're sitting down, you're standing up, and then you sit down, and so every time you move like that and sit down, it's going to pull on this seam. So we are reinforcing it just to give it some extra strength for when you know, are wearing these pajamas. And I hope you're going to wear them because you made them, and that's just awesome. Okay, reinforce, go back and forth. Okay, we will go back. There's one more direction on this, and it says to trim seam in curved area to 1/4 inch. So if you look at the picture here, it shows this curved area right here, just at the bottom. It just wants us to trim that. That's the part that's actually going in between your legs, in your crotch. And you don't want a ton of fabric there because that would not be very comfortable to wear. So we are just gonna lay this flat. Here's our curved area from here to here. And we're just gonna go in, I don't know if you can see this, and then we're gonna trim it so that it's just 1/4 inch. And just eyeball 1/4 inch. It's not gonna make much of a difference if you're like 1/3 of an inch, or you don't have to be super precise with this. Okay, and now I'm gonna go to the other side, and I'm gonna line it up here. So that I match up the other side. Okay, so now our crotch line is trimmed. And then it says to press remaining seam open, which is going to be interesting to do. So you're going to pull the pant leg back out, the one that you put inside, so that you have 2 legs. You now have a pair of pants. They're actually sewn together, so that's pretty awesome. And you'll open the pants up, and you'll take them off the end of your ironing board so that it's a single layer. And then you're just going to take your iron and you're going to open this up just like this. And your 1/4 inch seam won't open up. I mean, it's just too small. So we're opening this side, and then we're going to go just to the other side, the back or front, whichever one you did first. And you're again just going to open up the seam, use your steam iron, and you're just going to press this open. Now we also want to finish these like we finished all the rest of them. So we're going to take this back to our machine, and just these bigger parts, we're going to put it back to a zigzag stitch. And this is a really big notch, so I'm going to cut it off before I sew my zigzag. And we will just zigzag over this one, these two seams. They're shorter, they're smaller seams than doing a whole pant leg. And I'm just gonna go slow here just to make sure it goes over one edge of my fabric and catches my fabric with the other side. And just make sure you're not catching the rest of your pants, that you're only catching this raw edge. I want it to stop inside my fabric. There we go. So I can adjust this here. I'm gonna pull it down. And I'm just gonna follow this curve a little bit to finish it off, and when I get to where it gets thinner, I'm just gonna end it there. I don't want to go too far or else I'll accidentally catch the pants. And you're gonna do the same thing for the other side, but you're gonna start where the curve is, so you always have your raw edge to the right. Curl up here, so we'll just flatten it out. Just making sure I'm just making sure I'm not getting the rest of the pants in this. Oh, I'm out of bobbin, or my bobbin is running low, so I'm just gonna have to press that button until I get to the end. It's super annoying, sorry guys. It tells me when I'm running low, and it keeps telling me over and over and over. Alright, finish it off here at the end. Okay, you're going to go ahead and do that same exact thing to the other side, and you're going to press the seam again just to get this thread on this finished edge now to be nice and flat. And that's steps 6 and 7.